So the best players in the world create quite a lot of shaft lean at contact. A lot of amateur golfers try and create this with manipulation. Today I want to share with you the right way to create shaft lean, why you should create shaft lean, and how you can implement it into your golf game effortlessly and easy. Let's get stuck in. So the best players in the world average 11 degrees of shaft lean. Now that's great as a target. Does that need to be you? No. Should you create some shaft lean? 100% yes. Without shaft lean, you're never going to compress the ball correctly. You're never going to launch the ball dynamically, and you're not really going to create ball and turf contact unless you fudge it with some other compromising patterns. Just to make this easy, I've got a T-peg taped onto my club. I could use blue tack, and obviously if you have a magnet, that's even better. And what I've got here is a rod away as a straight line in between my feet, so let's call it the central line. And I've got another rod here that's angled away, and it's probably close to about 15 to 20 degrees, that, so slightly more than we perhaps need. Now, a lot of players, when they think about shaft lean, they think, okay, all they need to do is push these hands forward and do nothing else dynamically. And when you do that, it creates a little bit of face opening, it creates a little bit of separation in terms of compression and connection with the body. So when we create shaft lean, we very much want to feel that this left side is connected. And what that does, if we get the left side connected and the left arm just rotating a touch, it creates that club face to stay neutral and square. So quite simply, if I just push those hands forward, they start to move away. That can create heel strikes. And if you look at this T-peg, it starts to point to the right. Now, initially, if you were a hooker of the ball, doing that probably will help you. But the more we push the hands out and to the right, the more we're going to want to flip as the masses try and line up and work to make things naturally release through the golf ball. So what we're looking for really is much more of what I would call a dynamic movement. So what we want to see is the body facilitating the shaft lean. So the body is going to move laterally forward. It's going to rotate open. The arms are going to keep this connection in here. And obviously we get the rotation so that T-peg is still facing down the target. Now it is correct to tell you that the club face should be slightly open at contact and square at separation. So there's no harm in having this face a few degrees open at the point of contact, as long as 2,000 to 3,000 seconds later there is some rotationing happening and that club squares itself up, for want of a better word. So the club is always moving, always rotating ideally. The amount of which is what we're trying to get right. Obviously we have an excessive rate of closure, the club face would be closed at the separation point. Excessive rate of opening, club face open at that separation point. It's very much important to feed what you need. So if you hit shots that curve to the right, you want to feel the club face is closing more. If you hit shots that curve to the left, you want the face to be opening more. But what we are looking for is some amount of shaft lean, created ideally with a dynamic movement of the body like so. So this rod I've got here, I'm trying to get my shaft to be on that rod, and ideally the club face, or the T-peg in this case, to be slightly right at target at that point. So what I'd recommend is you'd have this as a visual, and this is great for the garden. Just the difference between a neutral position and a forward position. And I want you to create almost a little waggle using your hands to create a little bit of flexion, and your body to create a little bit of forward pressure shift, a bit of rolling of the feet, a bit of opening of the body, a little bit of raising of the handle, raising of the body into that extension piece, just to feel the difference between a static position and a dynamic position. And what we do to create that, for me, this is the perfect kind of way to feel we would get shaft lean. And we're using the rod on the ground to look at the difference between a neutral position and a forward position. Once we've got a feel of doing that, then we want to take away this rod because it will get in the way for sure. You could put it here if you wanted it as a visual and still have it leaning forward. And you can exaggerate the amount and try and think, okay, that's where I need to be at contact if visuals work for you. And then we're going to hit some short shots and build up to full shots. So I've taken away the club with the T-peg. I'm trying to create the same feels. So again, as we said, small shots to big shots. And we're looking for these shots to be very low, pretty straight, divot or bruising of the ground, for sure. Because if the radius isn't perfect, we won't take a divot like that one with me. I've got some bruising of the ground. I haven't got a huge divot on that particular one, but I certainly felt I was trying to create that dynamic movement. What I'd recommend, you might live at that kind of pace and length of swing for about 3 to 4 shots, then get it to like a, let's call it a 3/4 swing for 3 to 4 shots, which I'll show you now, and then full swings. That one was great, nice divot, penetrating shot, slight pull, but I certainly got the contact and the low point exactly where I want it to be. So taking this to the course, so putting this into a full swing, again we can get rid of the visuals now if we wanted to. But I'd like to see the rehearsal be similar to what we were just doing. So very much a dynamic body move and a dynamic arm move, still getting that connection. Then going into a full swing where we feel we're being dynamic. And again, good divot after the golf ball. Really felt more dynamic than normal for my golf swing. Felt like I moved a little bit more, which is absolutely fine. I can do with moving a touch more. Most of us can. There are other things that can stop you getting shaft lean. So the other things that will tend to stop you getting shaft lean is club face. If the club face is tending to be too open in the downswing, too much like this, you'll tend to overtake with the hands to square that club up. If your grip is in the palm of your hand, so very much here, it's very difficult to create shaft lean with a palmy grip because we need the wrist to be able to work correctly, so holding it in your fingers is vital. So those things are kind of things that we'd want to make sure we're in our system already, and then use the exercises that I'm showing you to try and develop the amount of shaft lean. As I said, a lot of people have fears when they increase the shaft lean that the face will open and the ball will go to the right. As long as we keep this connection, so finger and thumb on here, you should never hit the ball to the right, and the club face should always be releasing the correct amount. It's not a flap release, it's definitely what I would call a body and arm release. There's definitely hand action. A lot of people, when I talk about body release versus hand release, will come down on me, say, well, the hands have got to work to get speed. Yeah, we want the hands to unleash this club into the inline condition for sure, but it happens after contact. So it's definitely straightening as we come down, but I would say for 99% of golfers to have that as a conscious thought would wreck their golf. Most golfers will tend to hit the ball heavy or thin and lose their lever system, as we would call it, prior to contact too much. So trying to do it actively would be definitely a no-no for me. Let's think more about a bigger picture of kind of, can I get through the golf ball, heart to the sky type thing as a direction to go with the swing thoughts rather than unloading the wrists. Because they're going to want to unload on their own. Gravity, centrifugal force is all pulling those wrists down. So let's get shaft lean the right way by following these tips and guide.